Welcome in. It is the third installment of the Call Third podcast. You can follow us on Twitter on Mini Mike's Network. That's at Mini Mike's on Twitter. Also at A2S Pod 1 on Twitter. Both of those networks. And we are in connection with Payton Sports Network. That is at PSN on Twitter as well. Go to all your streaming platforms and just type in A2S Network. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and of course, SoundCloud. First episode was a great episode. We just talked about the offseason with the Bigs and Scott Lewis from Barber's Chair Network. Then last episode, we talked about the Yu Darvish trade and what the Chicago Cubs are going to be doing coming up this season in a week in NL Central. Our special guest was Russell Dorsey as he joined us. And tonight we have a special guest, none other than Lamond Pope. He covers the White Sox for the Chicago Tribune. We're going to be talking to him shortly. But, man, what a day for Major League Baseball, big picture-wise, right? Great day for the White Sox, right? We got that guy, that shortstop up in Cleveland. He's no longer going to haunt us. Now, if we can just get Jose Ramirez out of the division, everything will be all perfect for the Chicago White Sox. But once again, the deal, New York Mets, they acquire Mr. Lindor. 4 prospects come back. The highest prospect that they got back was rated number 5 in the New York Mets system. So they did get back a better package than most people would consider the Cubs got back for Yu Darvish. But they didn't give up any of their top 4 prospects, which you have to consider to be pretty good. Probably because, of course, Yu Darvish, he's a pitcher, but he is a little bit further in age than Francisco Lindor. So great deal. White Sox fans already had an issue with the New York Mets because they grabbed I got James McCann. And don't look now because the Mets aren't going to stop. Brand new owner, ready to be aggressive, ready to battle with the Yankees up in the Big Apple. And George Springer is another target. So you could be hearing that George Springer is going to sign with the New York Mets in coming days. Hopefully, free agency, it's been a little bit of a snooze. Of course, coming off of the truncated season, financial considerations for all teams in Major League Baseball. We saw that with the Cubs not wanting to go back into the repeater luxury tax and cutting their salary by shipping Yu Darvish. And the White Sox, even though they wanted to go out and add, and they did via trade with the Texas Rangers and acquiring Lance Lynn as a starting pitcher, they're also connected to Liam Hendricks and Brad Hand as relievers. And I myself, I want to get to Lamond Pope and ask him this question because I'm pretty happy. I think the Aaron Bummer injury late in the season did impact our bullpen and did impact our ability, especially in the big series against Cleveland, to hold on to that lead and ultimately not be able to win the division. But I was happy with Bummer. I was happy with Cordero, Matt Foster, Cody Hura, Jose Ruiz, and Evan Marshall. I mean, look, Jimmy Cordero, I would be shocked if his arm doesn't fall off the first time he takes the mound this year because he was overused, to say the least. Alex Colomé is a free agent. Possibility of him bringing him back, highly doubted. There's still probably a small chance that they bring him back. But look, what other questions do we have, right? The White Sox, they go out and get baby Cespedes in the international pool. They also get the number 1 starting pitcher from the international pool. And they kind of set that up the previous 3 years because they had been selling their international money off and putting that off once they got Louis Robert. And then they come up in this year's international pool and they grab those 2 players. We'll be talking about that as well. Questions for the White Sox, of course, are they going to get a closer? What can we expect from Yohan Moncada? Michael Kopech, how does he fit into the starting rotation? And Katz now being the pitching coach, of course, he's credited for being able to help turn around Lucas Giolito, his mechanics, and also his performance. Can he do that for Dylan Cease? Can he do that for Ronaldo Lopez? We hope so. And if that's the case, where does Michael Kopech fit into that? And then, look, we saw how the White Sox used Chris Sale out of the bullpen straight out of the draft in the year he was drafted towards the end of that season, the same way they did with Garrett Crochet when he made his debut in Cincinnati, to great success until he came up with that injury in the shortened series against the Oakland A's. So we'll talk about that, and we will welcome in right now Our big guest this evening, he's none other than Lamond Pope. Lamond Pope. He covers the Chicago White Sox for the Chicago Tribune. Lamond, welcome to the Call Third podcast. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Man, happy New Year to you. How things been going? How was your holiday?
Oh, very nice. My birthday is the day after Christmas as well, and so got to spend a little time. Went back out on up. I'm from Waukegan, so I got a chance to go back on up, say hello to my family for a quick second, then came on back.
Man, that's cool. You said that, and I was going to ask you about that. With everything being shut down, specifically high school sports, man, you missing getting up there to see some of those great high school games? Because that's a great division. People sleep on that conference up there when it comes to high school basketball.
Yeah, I mean, from being from there, getting to see all the games when I was in high school, obviously, and then having the chance to cover it for 3 years as well. That was a blast, getting the chance to go back into the old gym. And then seeing not only Waukegan, but Warren, Liberty, some really good basketball up in that area for sure.
Yeah. Players like Brandon Paul, and also who could forget Jeremy Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
So glad to see that his life is kind of being brought back together and he's doing well. Former Illinois Stars right there. Also, your Hoosiers, they didn't get it done tonight before.
Double overtime. The last time that they won up in Wisconsin was 1998. Yeah. And that's the year before I covered the team. So that's how long ago that was. A very long time ago. But yeah, double overtime, lost to the Badgers. Again.
How much faith do you have in Archie Miller to turn?
I do. I loved what he was able to do at Dayton. I know it's been a little bit of a slow go so far with the Hoosiers, but I really do like Archie.
Yeah. So as you heard, as I was talking before I brought you in, look, I was very happy with the output from the young relievers last year. They were put in a lot of difficult spots. They gained a lot of experience. They had ups and downs. But overall, I thought it was a great, successful season for the bullpen and the young arms. But the White Sox seem to be pinning their hopes on acquiring the likes of Liam Hendricks and Brad Hand to shore up the back end. How do you see this playing out? Do you think they get both of them, or which one do you think they prefer to get?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had the preference, you want to get Hendricks. I mean, he's the best reliever in the American League, won the AL Reliever of the Year award. He's been just lights out the last 2 seasons with the Oakland Athletics. He's the best, like I said, the best reliever in all of baseball, as far as I'm concerned. So if you have the opportunity, I know that, the Sox are in the running. He visited the Toronto Blue Jays earlier this week, and so I know they're in the running. The Dodgers, they've been rumored as well. The Dodgers have gone on out and gotten a couple of relievers already this off season, but obviously coming off the World Championship, they're still going to be really busy, especially with everything that San Diego's been doing. They got to kind of keep up with what the Padres have been doing this off season. As you mentioned with Hand as well, he's someone that the Sox obviously are familiar with, seeing him the last couple of seasons with the Indians. And so if you can't get Hendricks, Hand is a nice guy that you can kind of fall back on. But mentioning the bullpen, like as you did before as well, you have a young group. It's an area where you have Bummer, as you mentioned, and the lead on up here. He's someone who could go into that role right away. I would see either Bummer or Cody Hoyer being that person. Hoyer, he was a closer in the minors, had a lot of success, and I had a chance to talk to him had a chance to chat with him during spring training. Right before everything kind of shut on down, and he mentioned how much he loved having that adrenaline, being that ninth inning guy coming out of the pen, being that guy getting that last out, and being able to dap up the catcher when the game's over. And so he's someone who likes that role. And so if the White Sox want to go in that direction with him, that's someone who's willing and ready to take the ball. And you mentioned you can't forget the job that you mentioned as well, the job that Alex Colomé was able to do this past season, these past 2 seasons with the Sox. I mean, he was just very dependable. You got him the ball in the 9th inning. Sometimes you might get a couple runners on before he gets that 3rd out, but he's someone who was always going to be able to get the ball, and he wanted the ball in that sort of situation. Very calm, very very cool, collected, and was always able to get that last out during his 2 years with the White Sox. Like you said, a slim opportunity that he might come on back, but I know there's been reported interest from teams like the Twins and things of that nature. And so I think it might be best, or it might be a thing that the Sox do go in another direction. And if so, Liam is the guy that I think that most Sox fans would want, and he's one of the issues though is he's someone who might be 3-year or 4-year type of a deal. One of those situations, whereas you might be able to get one of these other guys at a little bit of a cheaper rate. And so that's going to be the thing to wait and see how that all plays on out with the Sox this offseason.
Out of all of those youngsters, who impressed you the most out of the bullpen last year? You talked about Cody Hoyer being a closer before. I'm just interested, like, out of all those guys, him, Foster, Balk is really not a young guy, Evan Marshall as well. Which one impressed you the most?
Yeah, I mean, that I think it's almost like Hoyer and Foster kind of went hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Really, both rookies. Hoyer had a great spring training, and so that sort of like kind of put him on the map as far as I was concerned, as far as making that next step. And then from him and Foster both have a really strong summer camp when things came back as well, and then have that opportunity and they both ran with it. I mean, they're put in some high pressure type of situations, and they're able to both have a whole lot of success in those type of situations. Obviously, with someone like with Foster, his ability to go a couple innings at a time, had him as an opener a couple times as well, and so he was able to help the Sox out in multiple roles there. But Hoyer again, just has great arm, power arm, is able to help you out from that standpoint. And then you can't, obviously you mentioned a little bit as well with Garrett Crochet. I mean, to go from getting drafted, then spending some time in the over in Schaumburg, and then being able to help the team on out late in September, and really, the game plan was in Game 3, if Dane was going to get in trouble. The first guy out of the pen, as it turned out to be, was going to be Garrett Crochet, and they'd hoped to get a couple of innings out of Crochet before that was the plan anyway, before the injury kind of took him on out of the game there. And so, the fact that someone like Garrett Crochet, can make that leap and have that so much success right off the bat was very impressive.
Yeah, you talk about Garrett Crochet. I'm very interested in what their long-term thought is towards him. Are they going to use another season in the bullpen to try and stretch him out, and then next season possibly get him into the starting rotation? Because if he can give you 5-6 innings with his stuff, that just really solidifies what you've been able to add with Lance Lynn, Dallas Keuchel, Lucas Giolito, and whatever Evan Katz can do to try and help Ronaldo and also Dylan Cease. Yeah,
I mean, I think the plan for 2021 anyway is to kind of have him in that sort of bridge him on out, have him go a couple innings again. We saw a little bit of that at the end of the 2020 season. Get him a couple innings, and then kind of have him be able to stretch on him out and work his way, because the long-term plan is for him to join the starting rotation and be one of those guys at the front end of the rotation potentially for the Sox. And so, maybe the plan will be being able to stretch him out a little bit more this season, hopefully there'll be a minor league season. Might be able to have him get a couple starts on the minor leagues as well, to have him stay fresh, kind of learn the ropes from that standpoint as well, but also be utilized here in the big leagues as someone you can stretch on out and be in that sort of long, especially if you move someone like, if you move Aaron Bummer into that closer role, he's someone that can kind of slot on in and take that role that Aaron has had the last couple of years. That seventh, eighth kind of guy. Because when Aaron was sharp, particularly like 2019, he was a guy that can go 2 innings as well. And so if you move Bummer into that closer role, then that'd be something that Crochet can kind of fill on in and take into that slot as well.
I mean, where things currently stand right now on the 40-man roster, if you give me Crochet and then tell me Hoyer and then Bummer, I'm happy with that. And then if you add Hendricks possibly in free agency, then I can go Crochet, Bummer, and Hendricks, or just you could flip-flop Bummer and Hendricks depending upon the lineup you're facing. I'm really comfortable with the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning for the White Sox as they compete against the Minnesota Twins for this division.
And obviously, someone like Tony La Russa, I mean, that's part of his MO, being able to mix and match, out that bullpen, see how those guys all work. I mean, that's one of his strengths. Obviously has a ton of strengths as a manager, but that's one of his strengths as a Hall of Fame manager, is that ability to work the bullpen the way that it is. And that's one thing that Rick Hahn mentioned when he was asked the last time that we talked to him about the notion of possibly going out and getting an established closer. He mentioned La Russa's strength and his ability to kind of work with the bullpen and get the best out of those guys. If it's a situation in which they don't, go ahead and get somebody. And so that that's another thing. That's an X factor. The ability that he has to go ahead and have those guys and know how to use them and put them in the best position. But the thing that we also have to realize, it was a rookie season for both Cody and for Matt. And so, how are they going to adjust to a full season, 162 games, hopefully, that we'll be able to have and see how they were able to utilize. I mean, obviously, you take a look at Game 3. Matt coming on in, he had the 2 walks there with the bases loaded. Cody gave up a home run there in Game 3 as well. And so as great a season they had, there were some bumps and some learning lessons that they hopefully can grow from as well.
Yeah, Cody was stressed out a little bit in his appearance, maybe a batter too long. But either way, he was throwing great right before he gave up that home run. Like I said, I'm happy with the performance we got from our young relievers. I'll tell you what I'm unhappy with. James McCann goes to the New York Mets, and I don't know about this catcher situation. I mean, Yasmani Grandal was the big free agent signing before last season. Everyone was excited. Defense left a lot to be desired. James McCann, I think most pitchers would prefer to throw to him. And then, your mom, Mercedes, Sevi Zavala, and Zach Collins is what you have left to back Grandal up. I mean, are they confident with what they have at the catcher position, or are they looking to possibly add in free agency?
Well, we'll take first with Yasmani. I think there was a situation where, as the season was, it's one of those situations that, a year of adjustments, obviously adjusting to playing in American League for the first time, but also the situation where, you're used to some guys are used to going, after you get your at-bats, you go on down, take a look at the video, you're able to adjust that way. There's some new rules that were in place this past season in which, the guys weren't able to go on down and study those videos after their at-bats. And so it was a little bit of an adjustment period from that standpoint. And also it's that situation where it was only 60 games and he was starting to heat on up a little bit towards, at times there in September as well. And so kind of getting in a rhythm, had a couple home runs, hit one in the Cubs series, and obviously hit one in the playoff game as well. And so just sort of like a situation where he was sort of saying, I remember we talked to him, I think before Game 2, it's one of those situations where, if you take a look at the full season, the full strength of a season where, you might be in a slump at some point, but then your numbers at the end of the season might come on out that way. So I think that Yasmani's going to hit. I think Yasmani's going to be just fine as the starter. And he's going to be someone who might be put in that situation where, when he was with Milwaukee, he started almost every single game. He was someone who likes to start every single game. He wants to be behind the backstop, and catching those guys night in and night out. And so I think getting into that rhythm might be something that's going to be beneficial for him to be able to do for an entire season this upcoming year. As far as the backup's concerned, I mean, I think the plan right now is to kind of see what they can get out of either, like you said, either Mercedes or Collins or Zavala. They all bring something different, obviously. Mercedes, he's going to swing. He's going to swing hard. He's going to, and just in case he hits it, and if he does hit it, it's going to go a long, long way. Zach, obviously, he has a really good eye at the plate. It's just obviously number 10 draft pick out of Miami. So it's kind of, let's see if we can kind of see some of that stuff kind of come to fruition for him. And then Sevi is obviously another person as well. So those 3 guys might be the options. There might be a situation where they might look. They do have some money to kind of see what options are out there. But I think it's a situation where right now they feel pretty comfortable with one of those 3 or a combination of those 2, because obviously also we take a look at the designated hitter situation. I mean obviously the thought process probably is going to be Andrew Vaughn is going to be that guy eventually. But here's also a situation where you have a guy like Zach, you have a guy like Mercedes. They could also kind of help on out from that standpoint as well.
We talk about this starting pitching rotation, 1 through 3 solidified. You feel pretty good about 1 through 3. As I said before in my intro, Michael Kopech, where does he fit? Cats bringing over his ideology about pitching, the approach, how it impacted one Lucas Giolito, turned his career around, turned him into a Cy Young candidate. Does that bode well more for Dylan Cease, or do you think it bodes more Dylan Cease or Ronaldo Lopez? Like, who do you see turning things? Or if you had to bet today, if you had to lay a bet in Vegas, who would turn it around quicker? Would you lay your money on Ronaldo Lopez or Dylan Cease?
That's a really good question. I would say probably Dylan, a little more established from that standpoint. He has all the stuff, and obviously at the beginning of last season, he got off to a really nice start. Had a really nice August, and then I think September was just kind of a rough September where, and the issue again was just being able to throw strikes. When he's able to throw strikes, he's very successful. He has really, really great stuff. And so I know that he's already had conversations. He's already had conversations. Ronaldo's already had conversations, and Michael Kopech's also already had conversations with Ethan as far as just kind of establishing that base and getting to work already with those guys. And so that's going to be something really that I'm looking forward to seeing this spring, is just to see how those guys adapt with the new pitching coach, and what are some of those things they work on to kind of get the most and max those guys on out. And so but I think with Dylan, for sure, you mentioned the top of the three. I mean, that top of the three, the top of the rotation, those three guys, that's almost as good as any that you're going to have in the American League. And so you go into a series knowing that you have Lucas, Dallas, and Lance. I mean, that is something that you're gonna you almost expect to win at least 2 out of 3 with those three guys going.
Where does Michael Kopech? Michael Kopech to me was very interesting, especially right after we take the loss, or the Chicago White Sox take the loss to the Oakland A's in the 3-game series. I'm on social media and I see all of these White Sox fans like frustrated with the fact that Kopech wasn't there. He opted out. He would have been there to pitch. We might have won the series and trade him. And they're just frustrated and talking all this crazy talk. And I'm saying, trade him? Like, are you serious? Like, first of all, what team is going to take him coming off of surgery and they haven't seen him, number one? And then number two, why would you trade a guy that literally was one of the cornerstones of this whole thing and this whole rebuild when you let Chris Sale go? Like, that's what you were selling everybody on. He's one of those guys. Yoel Moncada was the other guy that came over in that trade for Chris Sale. So you have to be able to allow him to have a season to see what he can give you, right?
It's one of those situations where, there's going to be a lot of eyes on him, obviously. I mean, one of the things that I really liked about last spring, one of the things that, was my first spring training ever, getting the chance to go on down there. And obviously the games don't, they don't count. They don't mean as much from some of that standpoint. But the game that he started, he had 1 inning against the Texas Rangers, and it felt like, it felt like a regular season game. It felt like there was tremendous buzz. Yeah. And then for him to not only, there's all eyes were on him, tremendous buzz leading up to the game, and then for him to pitch like he did, I think 11 pitches, 6 of them either 100 or 101 miles per hour, and it was just like there's a buzz throughout the ballpark, and you can't, that is something that you want on your ball on your ball club, right? So I'll be really interested to see just how how he performs, how he's ready to perform. One thing that Rick said was that they're going to be cautious with him as well, because obviously here's someone who hasn't pitched in a major league regular season ball game, since 2018. So they're obviously only had 4 starts. Yeah. So here's someone that you're going to kind of take your time, and that's where having someone like Ronaldo will help out as well, because you don't have to kind of rush Michael back, and from that standpoint, you can work him on in, kind of have him. So you have that ability to you have someone who has pitched a whole lot in Ronaldo to help on out from that standpoint, to kind of add a little bit depth there from the rotation standpoint. So, but yeah, I mean, the ability that Michael has to help this team and to be a major impact type of pitcher, sky's the limit for him. And so, yeah, I really look forward to seeing just what the Sox are going to be able to get out of him in 2021.
I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to answer it before you, but I'm interested in seeing what you say. Everybody was so upset with a lot of people. I won't say everybody. A lot of people were upset with the hiring of Tony La Russa, right? Because they were talking about fit. Of course, the whole DUI case comes up shortly after they hire him, and that just throws more gasoline on an already blazing fire. when it comes to Tony La Russa, this is what I feel most comfortable about, and I'm going to ask you what you feel most comfortable about. I don't feel like I'm going to get outmanaged in a late season series going into Minnesota with the division on the line anymore. I'm comfortable now. I don't feel like there's a deficiency in that dugout when I go into a big series now. That's what I'm most comfortable with when it comes to Tony La Russa, despite what most people think might not be a good fit. For you, what are you most comfortable with when it comes to the hiring of Tony La Russa?
No, I mean that's a great point. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason, right?
Right.
He's someone who has had great success, obviously with Oakland, obviously great success with the Cardinals as well. And so that track record speaks for itself. The winning speaks for itself, and so that's something that despite the fact that it's been he hasn't managed in a game since 2011. You know what you're getting from a Tony La Russa type of ball club, and so yeah. I mean, the ability to know day in and day out what you're going to get from his type of ball club. That's something that the White Sox are banking on. I mean, you don't hire a Tony La Russa unless you feel that you're in a position that you can take that next step and compete. Not only for a division title, but a lengthy postseason run as well. And so when you hire someone like a Tony La Russa, it's a situation where you believe right now you're in a position to go ahead and have some big time success. And so that's going to be the thing. Can they build off of this 2020 season and continue along the way with someone like Tony La Russa as the manager?
We have youth, we have power, we have speed, and we can hit. This lineup, young, dangerous. What is it missing?
Well, I mean, again, we'll have to see what happens with the designated hitter spot. It sounds like, obviously, like you said, Andrew's going to get the chance. Eventually, he's going to be that person. And it's a situation also where if you need Jose to have a day off his feet and have him, instead of playing first base all the time, you can also have him be the DH for that particular day, and then have Andrew at first base. You also have to, I've read where it's like, well, what do you want to do with Eloy as well? Obviously, his defense it improved a little, but there's still a little bit of a venture from time to time.
If he can stay away from the net, it'll be okay.
Indeed. So it's a situation where and then obviously with right field, right now the situation is you have Engel and Eaton. Engel against left-handed pitching, and Eaton, and there's a situation where like the last year and a half, I've been every single time that Engel's in the lineup, I'm like, don't write Adam Eaton. Every single story, I'm like, don't write Eaton.
Right.
And now they're on the same ball club. I've apologized to my editors in advance. I'm like, I know one day I'm going to just screw it up. I'm going to write Engel and I mean Eaton. And it's going to be or vice versa. So we'll see how that goes from my perspective. But yeah, so you add in Adam Eaton where he can face the right-handed pitchers. So it's a situation where you want to see also just the growth, right? You want to see that. You want to see Luis take that next step. And obviously, he burst on the scene, showed all the skills and all the ability that everybody thought that he had. He had just lights out for July and August, and then he went into that September swoon. Was able to had a pretty decent last series of the regular season against the Cubs, and then had a good postseason, obviously with the monster home run there against the A's. But yeah, you want to just see him take that next step. You want to see what Nick Madrigal can do for a full season as well. Yeah, I mean, he's someone he can get to any pitch, right? Up here, down there, he's gonna put his bat on the ball, make contact, and make and put it in play, and just let things work from there. But you want to see those guys play a full 162 and see what they can be able to bring to the table from that standpoint. From someone you mentioned, Johan, a couple of times. Obviously, I mean, here's someone, all the talent in the world, fantastic. I mean, the 2019 season was just a remarkable year for him. He showed that he was not only one of the better players on the Sox, but just I thought in all of baseball from that standpoint, just the growth that he was able to show, just making the adjustments from 2018 where he struck out a ton, cut down on the strikeouts, third in the majors in batting average, but then to go ahead and have the impact of COVID. That really it was something that he said he felt day in and day out, but his body, his energy just wasn't the same. And so hopefully he's healthy and he's able to get back to being that Yoan Moncada that the Sox know that he can be.
Yeah, as you said before, I have friends that contracted COVID, and even after 2 or 3 months, they're still trying to get their lungs back to 100% capacity to be able to go back to working out at the same rate. So I can only imagine what Yoan, he gave the White Sox every single thing that he had. And you could tell he was struggling. You could tell he wanted to be out there and to give his team everything that he could. But every time we saw him, Yoan loves to come around first and turn it on, whether he's going to second or going first to third, trying to leg it out for a triple. And every time he legged it out, you could just tell it took everything out of his body.
And he was still able to play tremendous defense, right?
Yeah.
One of the finalists for the Gold Glove Award. Just the strides that he's been able to make from that. He made such a smooth transition from second base to third base in 2019, and then just to continue to elevate that and to be one of the Gold Glove finalists. Just a really dependable guy over at defensively from the third base position as well.
You know what? When Lamond Pope, hopefully everything progresses. So hypothetically, we're going to speak that we're going to spring training and you guys are allowed to go out there and cover the team. When Lamond Pope heads out to spring training, he can't wait to see who.
I think again, it's one of those situations where I want to see. It was so much fun watching Luis Robert on a day in and day out basis, and just what he was able to do. So I just want to see, season 2. How does he make that adjustment? How does he continue to grow as a baseball player? From season 1 to season 2 with Eloy. I mean, it was just he had a really solid rookie season, but he elevated his game to another level in year 2, and so I want to see year 2. Luis Robert. And again, Michael Kopech. I want to just see sort of how, what's that next step for him? What has he been up to? How has he been progressing? And when he gets back on into it, those are the two guys right there. Michael Kopech, obviously just want to see just where he's at and when is he going to be able to contribute and what kind of contributions he's going to be able to make to the ball club. And then just continue to see someone like Luis Robert, because again, he has special talent to be one of the elite players in the game. And so when you have the chance to see someone who has that ability, you want to take every chance and have every opportunity to see someone like that.
All right. Once again, we're talking to Lamond Pope. He covers the Chicago White Sox for the Chicago Tribune. Expectations will be at an all-time high surrounding the team for a full season. How do you think they react to that? They're young. They're playful with each other. They love each other. You could tell everything under Ricky Renteria was all about, of course, he's a player's manager. He allowed them to have fun. They grew together as a group. The chemistry was great. Now Tony La Russa comes in. Tim Anderson came right out and said, I'm not changing how I play the game. So it doesn't matter who we hired as manager. Do you think they continue to be the same jovial team and with that swag that Major League Baseball and others outside of Chicago had grown to love to watch? Or do you see them bringing it back and quite probably getting a little bit more serious as they try to make it or take that next step to the World Series?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, Tim said he's not changing. Right?
Good to hear.
Right, and so Tim's going to still be the same, and he's still going to keep on hitting, keep on getting on base, keep on doing damage, keep on being that spark for the team that the team needs for sure. It's a situation as far as just the expectations. I think they're going to, I think they're embracing them. I mean, it's a situation where they have a manager in place who has that World Series pedigree. they've solidified that starting rotation where they now have that third guy as well. Someone who they have three guys that the fifth, sixth, and seventh as far as the AL Cy Young award voting this past season. So you have a top of the rotation that is established and that has all the talent in the world there. And again, I think that's where it comes into seeing some of these younger players, take that next step or continue to progress in that way. That's where it becomes important to see, Luis kind of continue along that path. That's where it's important to see Nick continue along that path and show that improvement and show that those skills that those guys had throughout the minors and that were on display in 2020, elevate that as well. And so I think that's the thing. It's just I think they're going to embrace the expectations because it's especially given the news of the day with the Indians trade. I mean, I think it's the Sox and it's the Twins. Obviously there's a whole lot of movement that needs to be made. The Twins haven't done a whole lot this offseason, but the Twins are you anticipate the Twins making some moves and being there as well as and being in a situation where it's going to be the Sox and the Twins. Indians kind of a little step below, but you can never really count out the Indians with Terry Francona and with the pitching.
They still have arms.
They always seem to have arms, right?
They still have arms.
Yeah. And obviously the Tigers now with AJ Hinch, it's going to take a little while for them, but you have someone who, again, here's someone who had a ton of success with the Astros, and then the Royals as well. They've been one of the more active teams this offseason.
They have.
They had Santana, Michael A. Taylor, Mike Minor. So they've been really busy getting some established players around some of their younger players as well. So it'll be really interesting just to see what kind of growth that they've made. But like I said, the Sox and the Twins, I mean, they're the favorites there so far for this division.
All right, let's go through this right quick. Most important player in the lineup this year will be.
Let's see. I'm gonna say. Well, I want to see what Jose does again. Obviously, MVP. Obviously, led the league in RBIs the last two seasons. Just can he continue? 30, going into the age 34 season. Just can he go ahead and do that again for the Sox? And what kind of production will he be able to give for the team as well?
The most important starting pitcher will be.
Well, I think it's you want to start with your ace. Lucas. Day in and day out. I mean, he's been dependable. He's been that guy. He wants the ball. He wants the ball in the big moments. Obviously, we saw in Game 1, taking the perfect game into the seventh inning there. So you want to just continue to see him progress and be that guy day in and day out. Where game start opening day, start of a big series. You're going to trust the guy with the ball there, and that's going to be Lucas Giolito.
See, I like hearing that. I don't want pressure on Michael Kopech. Come back, take your time, kid, do your thing, and then hit your stride going into August and September and solidify everything going into the playoffs. I'm excited about this team. I tell all my upset White Sox fans out there, stop being jealous of the Padres. Love on your own team, okay? Yes, I would love for Jerry to spend money like crazy too, but I know who he is. We're on a budget. We have youngsters. We're locked up through 25 and 26. And with most of our guys, let's be happy. And as Tony La Russa said, let's embrace this thing. Let's embrace this AL Central race and embrace this push for another World Series championship. So before I let you go, we play a game each and every show called Balk or Step Off. All right. So I'm going to say something. If you disagree with it, call Balk. And then tell me why you disagree. If you agree with it, just say step off and we'll go on to the next statement. All right?
All right. Now see, I listened a little bit to the last one. And I know you asked Russell about Drake. So I hope you don't ask me about Drake because I'm like a 91 to like 93, whatever was playing on GCI from that standpoint. I can get you that.
You get me there? Okay. We're going to start out, man. Of course, I talked about Francisco Lindor being traded from the Cleveland Indians and acquired by the New York Mets. Francisco Lindor will become the biggest star in New York.
I'll say I'll say Balk because those Yankees. You still have Aaron Judge there. You still, and so I think Aaron Judge is still, and as long as Aaron Judge is still wearing those pinstripes, it's going to be Aaron Judge.
Man, but you see the personality that he has.
Oh yeah,
the Latino community up there in New York, they definitely will embrace him, and you can just, you love to watch him play.
Yes.
You just love to watch him play. He's infectious with his teammates, so I can see him rivaling some of those Yankees players. But yeah, I think Judge and the other guys Yankees players will always
Cole as well. Yeah, when you have Aaron Judge, when you have a Cole, those guys, when they're wearing the pin, the Mets have had the best, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball the last few years, and DeGrom, in a situation where there's still when Cole got there, it's like Garrett Cole is the guy now, right? So there's always another level with those Yankees.
Yeah, it's been reported, according to MLB.com, that the Dodgers are interested in looking at an infielder, and reportedly that infielder is Chicago Cubs third baseman Chris Bryant. Justin Turner is a free agent. Can you imagine if the Dodgers add Chris Bryant to the already dominant lineup coming off a World Series? With all of the moves that the San Diego Padres have made, the Padres are neck and neck with the Dodgers. Balk or step off?
I'm gonna go Balk again. I just think the Dodgers. That series that they played was phenomenal. That was so much fun to watch. The Dodgers and the Padres. But until you knock off the champs, until you beat the champs, you're not the champs. And so I got to give the love to the Dodgers. Got to keep them at that level. Padres have done everything they needed to do, right? They got the pitching, and so it's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch. Not only that series was fun, but just the bad blood that was kind of elevated throughout that series as well. The great catch that Bellinger made, and that blast that Tatis hit, and the celebration and the trash talking back and forth between them and Machado. It was just a whole lot of fun, a whole lot of fuel, and so I'm going to be staying up on the West Coast and watching those games. Once we get done with White Sox games, I'll stay up and watch those games until 1 a.m. because that's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch those two teams go at it all season long.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. One of the arms races that got closer, of course, we talked about San Diego closing the gap on the Los Angeles Dodgers. What about the Mets closing the gap on the Atlanta Braves?
Again, Balk. Yeah, until the Braves, a situation where I still like their pitching, I still like their lineup. I just think that the Braves are still the strongest team, the leader in that clubhouse there in the National League East. The Mets have gotten better. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Not only with Lindor, but Carrasco's been really solid. And obviously we talked about James before. Getting the chance now to be that everyday starter. That's going to be a very nice situation for him, and he's going to help that pitching staff out as well. Obviously, when you have someone like a DeGrom, it's not like he needs a whole lot of help, but to be able to have someone like James who's been great with pitchers, that's going to help that pitching staff out as well. But no, I still think the Braves are the team to beat there in the NL East.
All right, last but not least, the NL Central and the AL Central are the two weakest divisions in Major League Baseball.
I'll step off as well because here's the situation, right? Seven of those teams made the playoffs. Combined, right? Yeah. You have four in the NL Central. You had obviously, and then you had three in the AL Central. Obviously the bottom, if you can compare the bottom of the AL East with the Baltimore situation to what the Tigers or the Royals have been like as well. And then the AL West, there's a lot of teams that have, obviously the A's have been really solid, but just a situation where you want to see the Angels kind of take that next step. You want to see the Mariners. It's been a long time since they've been in the playoffs. I do like, obviously like the AL East with that threesome with that group of the Yankees, the Rays, and the Blue Jays all making the playoffs this past season. But there's a reason why all those teams, other than obviously Milwaukee, had a losing season, but they were able to make the playoffs. But you get 4 teams from the NL Central that made the playoffs, 3 teams from the AL Central that made the playoffs last season. So the talent is still there, but it's a situation where there's got to be some player movement because all the it's and I think not only in the Central, but it's just been throughout all of baseball where there's a whole lot of holes for a lot of these teams, and it'll be really interesting to see how these teams all fill these holes on up.
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about when I spoke with Russell Dorsey is that the fact that the Cubs still have a pretty good roster even after the Yu Darvish trade, and even if they go and move Chris Bryant, hopefully they get back some talent that's closer to major league ready than they got back in the San Diego deal with Yu Darvish. But they can still win 86 to 90 games in that division and contend. And possibly, if they don't win it, get in as a wild card in the playoffs. But the White Sox, I think we're going to have to be 93, 95.
Well, but again, it's a situation with, we don't know what the playoff situation is going to be like, right?
That's true. Do you want to see it adjusted or the same way it was? And also your thoughts on the extra innings, the way it was done during the truncated season. Is that something they should carry over and just keep in Major League Baseball?
If you would have asked me both those questions, like when I was in high school, at Waukegan High School, I would have been like, no way. No. I love the, I would have been like, I love the, you play the regular season, play 162 for a reason. You don't want to water down the playoffs. You don't want to, and extra innings. No, you want to play out as many. I love 16 inning games. I love 17 inning games. But you know what? With both those situations, what it did was that first week of the playoffs, when you had game after game after game after game, it felt like a March Madness sort of situation, right? It was one of those things where it was a lot of fun, where you had games going on all day long, and just even in September, just the fact that you had the situation where you had teams that weren't out of it until those last couple weeks, last week of the season, and so you have more interest from the fan standpoint. More teams that are going to obviously get on in. So obviously, when they get into the playoffs, there'll be more fans are going to be watching during the postseason season as well. And so maybe a little tweaking as far as maybe give that first maybe the top seed, maybe give them a bye or something like that. There's some things that we can work on out from that standpoint. But I had no problem with the expanded playoffs, and I didn't really have an issue with the extra inning situation as well. I think the Sox only played. I can't remember off the top of my head how many extra inning games, but they didn't play a ton of them. They played the Sunday night game against the Indians when it was Lucas against Shane. That game went to extra innings. The Sox kind of blew that one late, and then obviously the one. During that Cleveland series at the end of the season, when Ramirez hit the game-winning home run in the 10th.
That one hurt.
That one hurt. That was
the toughest game of the season, man, because to battle their best pitcher, and take a lead late into the game, and then, it just sucks that the White Sox killer was the guy that came to the plate in that situation. Anybody else in that lineup, I would have felt much better. I just felt as soon as he stepped into the batter's box, it's like, oh, here we go again. We already know what's going to happen. Lamond Pope covers the White Sox for Chicago Tribune. Thank you for being our guest on the Call Third podcast. Before you go, let everybody know where they can follow you on social media.
All right. Yeah. Lamond Pope, at Lamond Pope, and then, at the Chicago Tribune. And so thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I had a blast. Yeah.
Before I have to. I can't let you go without getting your CFP championship game prediction.
I've seen almost every Ohio State game. I watched every Ohio State game this season. But Bama's at a whole level.
That's so good. That's so good. I think, if you're a betting man, definitely take the over, because I think it's going to be a lot of points. I don't know if the punters will get a lot of action on Monday night. And if Ohio State can get a couple of breaks, a couple of turnovers, maybe even a pick six or a fumble return for a touchdown or something like that, maybe the game is a little bit closer. and it comes down to whoever has the ball last. And Justin Fields, if he can repeat his performance that he had against Clemson, which would be tough to do.
Yeah, I mean that's what I say. I mean that was like a perfect game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like everything went well. Justin had a phenomenal game, and then the defense was really, they were able to bottle.
The front seven was phenomenal. Yeah.
Whereas, and you mentioned, obviously with Alabama, I mean, in the Notre Dame game, a couple of situations early on that the punt that looked like it might have touched off, and you need a couple of those breaks that Notre Dame didn't get early on to just even hang with Alabama. So I mean, I just think they're just so good. They're just so good. So I'll have to definitely take Bama for the championship.
Call Third Podcast in accordance with Mini Mike's Network. Follow us at Mini Mike's Pod on Twitter. You can also follow us at A2S Pod 1 on Twitter. That is our college football and NBA pod. We also have an A2S Network YouTube page. Go check out all of that content that's on there. We have some great content. We broke down a lot of the interview of Russ Dorsey. So if you don't watch it in its entirety, you can watch the clips where he talked about the Chris Bryant saga and how we compared Chris Bryant to Derrick Rose and said he was Derrick Rose with a championship. He's Derrick Rose with a championship, as I said before. A2S Network on YouTube. Go follow, and you can watch all of our great content. We thank you so much. We'll be back this weekend. Check us out. We'll be tweeting out. We're going to have our fans forum for the Chicago White Sox. I'm giving all White Sox fans that are upset about the White Sox not spending big money an opportunity to come on the Call Third and get all your frustrations out and just let it go and express yourself, because I'm going to tell you, calm down, be cool, and love the team you came with. All right? So for Lamond Pope, I am Shaun Davis. You can follow me at SD2Mikes. It's the Call Third Podcast. We'll see you next time.